Welcome to this episode of Mainline Connect, where we talk about all things networking and we interview local business people who are doing great things in our area. Our guest today is Rebecca Fox Starr, and her blog is called Mommy Ever After, and we're so happy to have her here today. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. So we like to start out talking about, some networking tips for people. So, I looked at your blog and it's fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
You've done really well with it as far as exposure and monetizing it and getting sponsors and featuring products and all the things people hope to do as, a professional blogger. So I thought it would be great if maybe you could give some advice to people on how you've been able to monetize it. A lot of people blog, some people are very good at it, but they haven't advanced that next step to be able to monetize it and kind of leverage their relationships to get where you are. So what advice could you give people?
Absolutely. I appreciate that so much. I would say that part of it is an evolution. So for me, when I started my blog, it was more of an online baby book for me and my family. And then once I came out with more personal stories about myself and my life, then the blog exploded and I was able to reach out to businesses, to companies, and to individuals to start forming these relationships that ultimately turned Mommy Ever After from my baby book to my business. So the advice I would give is, as a blogger, content. Make sure that you're posting good content. Everybody's going to have an off day. It doesn't mean that every post has to be one that you would submit to, the Times or something like that.
Right.
But content frequency, I would make sure that you are posting with frequency, if not every day, if not a couple times a day, then at least a couple times a week, so that your readers know that when they click on your page, they're going to see something new and exciting and fresh. Okay. And I think integrity is the biggest thing. Sponsors, partners, anyone who's going to join with my brand knows that I'm not going to partner with a brand about whom I do not feel totally invested and like we are a good fit. I really, really believe so much in my message of Mommy Ever After and in helping women, men, people across the area and the country and now the world. And so I will only partner with companies who have the same values. So that would be my advice to anyone starting out.
I mean, it's all such good advice, but I think I'm grabbing onto the end because I think it's so important to kind of emphasize for people because it's a lot about personal branding.
Yes.
I think whether it's a blog or even a different kind of business, a lot of times people have opportunities that come to them. And I think they know inherently, kind of instinct-wise, it's not a good fit, but they think, I need to take this sponsor or I need to take this client or, whatever it is for your blog, and there's that idea that it's coming to me and they want to work with me. So even if it's not in line with my message, like you said, I should just grab onto it. But I love that you've stuck to your values because you realize that advancing your business is going to be based on, that integrity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a page on a link on my homepage that will say partnerships and purpose. And it lists all of my partnerships, which are everything from really recognizable brands like Lululemon and Nicole Miller and Gerber, all the way down to local businesses who are trying to start out. And the main theme that ties all of these things, whether it's a fashion site, whether it's a wellness company, the main thread that ties all of these things together is I have to feel like they can realistically enhance the lives of my readers. And I've been approached by companies and they could be lucrative deals, and I feel very blessed that I'm approached by these companies. But because I know specifics about my readers, and especially because I focus on mental health, I have to be very careful and very sensitive, and I have to make sure that I'm not going to promote a company that could cause a reader of mine, even one reader, to be put in harm's way.
Right. No, that's so important. I think that's great advice. So thank you for sharing that. Hopefully it'll help some people. I mean, I know how many bloggers there are out there, and everybody's trying to make that next step to make it more profitable as well. And I also love the fact that you have such honesty with what you put out there. And I think that's important for people to think about too. I think, and I feel like that as a speaker too. I feel like a lot of times you're afraid of how much should I put out there of myself that's personal. But it seems to me you kind of espouse the same philosophy. The more you put out there that's personal, the more you get back, right? Yeah.
I will say that my blog started 5.5 years ago when I had my daughter, and it was simultaneously just this book, online book for me to remember, this is what happened this day, this is what happened this day.
Yeah.
But also to speak candidly to other new parents. It really was a mommy blog at that point, about how motherhood is enchanting and wonderful and magical, and also really hard and really lonely and scary and frustrating. So I really adopted the philosophy of being candid. It was not until the birth of my son in 2013 that things really shifted. I unfortunately was afflicted with severe postpartum depression. I had perinatal distress. I was depressed during my pregnancy, which I had never experienced before. And then afterwards, I was really, really low. And after a couple of months getting back on my feet, I decided to come out with my story. And that's when things really took off for Mommy Ever After. It stopped becoming just a mommy blog. It became really a wellness site.
Okay.
So I decided, you know what, if I'm going to go for it, like you said, I'm really going to go for it. I'm going to be an open book. You can ask me anything. And I really wanted to be able to provide the support so that my readers would say, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you how many messages I've gotten from moms who you would expect to be my target demographic, but also, the lawyer who is worried about coming out as being in the program and is worried about the stigma attached to that. Or from a grandparent who says, I see these characteristics in my daughter and I don't know, this sounds like your story. I really want to help people, and the only way or the best way I can do that is by being unflinchingly, brutally honest.
Yep. That's wonderful. So let's backtrack a little. So I'm curious, I know you've been doing this about 5 years, you said, right?
Yes.
And, so I know how it started out as far as the birth of your first child, but
yes.
Let's backtrack even further. When you went to college,
yes.
Was this kind of your plan? Did you think you were going to try to be a professional blogger? Was it important for you to put out a personal story, whether that ended up being related to the birth of your kids or anything else? Was that something that was even in the cards for you?
It's funny. I've always been an open person.
Okay.
I went to college as an English major, so I always loved to write. But when I went to college, I don't know if blogs existed, and if they did, I certainly was unaware of them. So I did not have the ambition to be a blogger. I always considered myself a reader more than a writer.
Okay.
But I wanted to, again, I always was the person that was sharing my story, and people, even if it was in the lounge at school, I was able to articulate myself and share my story and use my words and use like little bits of writing here and there with emails and things like that to try to help people, because I never want anyone to feel alone. And I've felt alone and lonely, and those are two different things at points in my life. And so while blogging certainly wasn't something that I thought about back then, I think I've always wanted to write, and I've always wanted to be able to touch people and have an influence in a positive way with compassion.
So what did you do after college? Were you a writer? Did you help people? Like, what was your profession before this?
I taught. I was a teacher. I was a teacher, and I stopped my teaching job when I had my son around that time, a couple months before my son was born.
Okay.
So I was a teacher I was helping people, and again, I was really able to help parents because they would come in and they would be so down on themselves. And I facilitated a lot of parent-child classes, so that I was able to say to the parents, you think you're terrible for feeding your kid chicken nuggets every night. You're feeding your kid. You should applaud yourself. Your child's eating. So it's kind of all been not one smooth path towards where I am right now, but it's been all this kind of interesting winding road. So it's been good.
As you're talking, I'm thinking there's been this post that's been going around Facebook about kind of the myth of Facebook and social media and how some people kind of glamorize. They only put the good stuff out there and look at me and my beautiful kids and my life and look at us on vacation. And, I put a lot of good out there, but I also put a lot of bad out there when it's going on. Like I'm a very open book as well.
Thank you.
And you are too. And I think that's really important. I think, you can get up in sort of that social media, look at our nice family photo and how perfect everything is and we're all smiling. And, I think that people, get caught up in that, and then other people are afraid to put stuff out there. But,
absolutely. I think I sometimes jokingly, as much as I love Facebook and I appreciate Facebook, I sometimes refer to it jokingly as fake book, because you take 12 pictures and you pick the best one where everybody looks the best, and then you filter it and you put it through another filter and you crop it and Instagram it and then put it back on Facebook. For me, I've actually done a lot on my Instagram, where I've said real, like hashtag real or real mommy moment.
Right.
Because it's the two of my kids crying and me not looking very pretty, and I just try to keep it real.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So okay, so you were teaching, and then like you said, you had your daughter, and you started the blog, but it seems like it really took off after the birth of your son.
Yes.
So what happened kind of in the interim? Did you feel like after the birth of your daughter, you kind of weren't as personal with what came out, or why do you feel like there was a transition when your son was born?
I didn't have the story to share.
Okay.
I had a lot to share, and I was being very, very honest, but my things really, really amped up. I was sharing honest stories about my fear when my daughter was sick. Okay. You know, I was sharing honest stories about my birth story and things like that. But compared to severe postpartum depression, you really can't even put them in the same category. So when I came out with that story, I believe it was February of 2014, a couple months after my son was born, that's when I started to receive an outpouring of people thanking me because they said, this is my story. And I started to have this incredible thing happen where people would email me and they would say, you're speaking directly to me. Right. I feel like I could have written this story myself. And I realized that I was developing these relationships and a community, but it was me and all these other people. And then I started to try to brainstorm, how can I connect all of these people together, right, because I'm in this community and I'm getting all of this support and I'm giving all this individualized support, but how can I connect these people?
And is that when you started the online support group?
Yes.
So tell us about that.
So that's when I decided to start this online, it's a private online support group. It's all women.
Okay.
And it is completely secret and confidential. You cannot find it.
Okay.
You have to be invited.
Right.
And it is a place where women can talk about anything and everything, and they do. And I was able to, it almost makes me emotional to talk about because it's been one of the most incredible things I've ever done. They have nicknamed themselves hashtag Team MEA from Mommy Ever After, like happily ever after.
That's cute.
But it is so, the strength that these women provide for each other, you know, whether it's a little hasty post in the morning saying, everyone have a great day and do something for yourself that day.
Right.
Or somebody coming with really serious advice. You know, my child's been diagnosed with a certain affliction. Who's the best person to talk to? What do I do? How do I cope? Mm-hmm. And we talk about marriage. We talk about fashion. Today I'm going to be asking them about wallpaper. So it's everything that women need. And these women have felt so lonely. And I have had some of these women feel like they've had no friends, and now they have a community of real friends. And not only does this exist in the vacuum online, but we've had events, and now
in-person events.
We've had in-person events. So I've been able to host events at, you know, we did an event at Lululemon in Suburban Square. They were fabulous. They had a night out, and I had made signs, and it said, "I'm worth it. I deserve this." And for women, especially mothers, it's very hard to get time out, to take the time out for yourself without feeling guilty. So that's why I wanted them to really believe I deserve this. And I called it Wellness Ever After. Okay. And these women met each other for the first time, and now they're real friends. They have somebody to have coffee, play dates, things like that.
That's
and
so
it's not all mothers. And there are women from 20 to, I think that our oldest member maybe is close to 70.
Okay.
And the amount that we can share and the humanity that exists and the relatability is just uncanny. It's unbelievable.
So if people wanted to get involved specifically in that online community that's secret,
yes,
how do they go about doing that?
Contact me.
Okay.
So you can contact me through my Mommy Ever After email is just Rebecca@mommyeverafter.com.
Okay.
And if you contact me, if you write me an email, I will write you back. And I will let you know how to get involved. And I've also developed my own personal relationships with people, and they have appreciated it, but they don't understand how much I appreciate it.
Right.
It is so amazing and so special for me.
So let's go back a little bit to the moment where you decided, you know, I'm suffering from postpartum depression and I'm going to put it all out there. Was there a point where you were suffering from it, but you were thinking, should I put it all out there? Should I not put it all out there? Or was it just kind of like, I need to put this all out there?
Of course. I was, I not only am I a a local member of the community, but I was a teacher. I had expected to maybe probably go back to teaching, which, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have the stigma attached to my name.
Right.
I didn't want to scare people. I had other pregnant friends. There were so many risks for me to put it out there.
Yeah.
So I thought about it. I edited a lot what I was willing to share and what I've kept private, because there are still some things to this day that I've kept private.
Sure.
But I decided, you know what? If this can help, I remember saying to myself, if this can help one person, then it's worth it. And since then, I still am in recovery from this postpartum. Okay. I don't know. I refer to it now as postpartum. I guess I'll always be postpartum because it's after having had my children.
Right.
But I'm not having any more children. I'm actually unable to have any more children. So I talk about that. I share the ongoing struggles that I have with mental health issues of my own. I share the knowledge that I've gotten and that I've gained about how so many women feel guilty because they're never enough.
Right.
And these are things that I continue. Now it's easier for me to kind of put myself out there. And the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I can say, when it comes to Mommy Ever After, I've never gotten a negative comment. I don't know how it's possible. I've never once gotten a negative comment. Now, I will make a tiny addendum by saying that I do some freelance writing, and both of my children wear glasses. And I wrote a post for Scary Mommy about what it's really like when your kid gets glasses. And really the premise was, I realized that in the scheme of things, this is a nothing, but it's hard nonetheless because you don't want your kid to have anything. I was slaughtered.
Really?
You have no idea what real problems are. And if my kid had glasses and that was the only problem, then I would feel lucky. So that was a little tough. And I started to respond to everyone. And then I was finally like, you know what? Don't read the comments.
Step away.
Step away. And then I really started to embrace the positive comments, which is like, you know what? It is hard when your kid has a thing and it's not how you pictured your child's life to be.
Right.
So
whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. So from the actual postpartum, discussing all of that, you didn't get any backlash at all? No.
I truly have not gotten
That's amazing.
One
yeah, because
negative
people
comment.
have so many, things to say on social media, and everybody loves being kind of hidden behind a wall and putting things in the comment section. I'm sure you found that when you did the glasses article.
Yes.
But, you have experienced the negativity, and now I'm sure you're just past it. So
I've gotten such incredible support. I feel so blessed that I've gotten such incredible support.
That's great. So with the postpartum, did you seek any help yourself?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I continued to seek help.
Yeah.
I failed my evaluation leaving the hospital. I knew what was going on. My husband sent me a text message a week after the baby was born, and he said, "Reality check. Are you okay?
Right.
I see the light starting to go out in your eyes." That was actually exactly 2 years ago, which makes this kind of a difficult and emotional week for me because I go back to that place, and I'm clearly in a very different place now.
Right.
I'm still seeking help. I recommend, if it's possible, it takes so much courage and so much strength, but for any woman going through any mental health issue, for any human going through any mental health issue, I recommend that they do seek help. And there's talk therapy, there are support groups, there's medication. I'm not somebody authorized to talk about, medicine or anything like that, but I implore you that if you are feeling like something's not right, please seek help. And if that means emailing me, I will email you back. I've talked to people in the middle of the night. I've been someone who's gone places in the middle of the night. So I think that it's the bravest thing you can do, but the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I've suffered my own struggles with that. Not with postpartum. I don't have kids, but I had a near-death accident, and I had a lot of mental problems related to that. And I've been really open about the help I've gotten. And I think that's why I really want to put it out there with you, because I think there's a lot of people out there, women, men, whatever they're suffering through, that feel like, they can't get help, or they don't want to get help, or it won't help them, or they don't really believe in, mental health therapy. And
they're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed, all of it,
Yes.
And especially, you and I have both put it out there. So, I think it's, it is something that needs to be discussed more in general, just mental health.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to say that you're going through something. And, coming out, not on the other side like you're cured, because, I'm sure you're still going through stuff. I'm still going through stuff years later. But you're better. You're better than you were. You're doing better. Your life is better. And that's the direction you want to move in.
I think,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. I think the difference is hope. I
Yeah.
think that on my blog, it's organized into a happy story, which is everything before my son's birth. The old enchanted baby blog with my daughter.
Yeah.
Then there's a hard story, which is the discussion of my postpartum, when the doctors told me that I couldn't have any more children, all the really hard things that I have opened up about. And then now I write in a hopeful story, and it's all about when I see my kids holding hands, when we have a dance party, when I'm able to get up on stage and sing, things that are now bringing color and joy back to my life, and there is hope. And that's why it seems counterintuitive, but the bravest thing that you can do is to ask for help.
Right. I totally agree with you. So talking about your story, I know I read, I guess it must have been on your website, you're working on a memoir, is that right?
I'm working on a book.
Okay.
It is likely not going to be a memoir actually at this point, because what's really hard is it's very hard to give medical advice or talk about something like an affliction like postpartum or any form of perinatal distress without being a doctor. I don't have much authority. So I have my story, and it seems like when dealing with books written by mothers, it's either life is wonderful, look at me with my beautiful children and they're eating the organic food that I grew in my backyard, or look at my children, I can't stand them, I'm drinking a martini, something like that. And my story is somewhere in between there. It's wonderful and it is hard. And so I wrote that story and I'm writing that story, but I also actually teamed up with a local mental health professional who specializes. She's published 16 books on perinatal distress of some kind or the other. And so I wrote my story, and then after my story, after a chapter, about, let's say, prenatal depression, she then goes in and talks about the risk factors, the warning signs, the things that people can look at, predispositions, what you can do for treatment. And that's been an evolution. The book has evolved. I actually thought that it was going to be more of a memoir, and then I realized that the way to really help people was to work with a professional. So it's my book with a local doctor, and it's currently being shopped. I have an agent, a literary agent. It's being shopped to publishers. Fingers crossed.
So hopefully 2016 we'll see it on the
shelves.
shelves.
So that's
it's done though. The writing's done.
A lot of the writing's done. But that's my goal.
That's really exciting.
Yes, I mean I have a wonderful, wonderful agent who believes in the story as much, in the writing as much as we do. So.
And I think it's great the way you did it, because it's your personal story, but also these are the risk factors. This is how you can get help. This is what you need to look for.
Yes,
that's wonderful.
And my story was unusual because I did not suffer from postpartum after the birth of my daughter. It only happened after my son. So people don't expect that to happen. So I really wanted to get that out there as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. So one thing I want to go back to is you mentioned, we talked a little bit about the beginning about the monetizing your blog and, deciding to partner with sponsors and brands basically based on your message. And I was wondering, do you also partner with some nonprofits? Is there anything that you support that you kind of want to put out there to the audience?
I do not support nonprofits through the blog.
Okay. What about personally? Yeah.
Personally, I do.
Yeah.
Personally, I have family charities. It's very hard for me because there are so many that my family personally supports or has started. But I can't put them through the blog because it's too difficult. So
because there's too many.
It's too difficult. There's too many. I don't want to give some one group more coverage than the other, but I will say that if you look up my name, you will see that I do support charities that have to do with health, physical health, mental health, certain things in certain countries. I'm being vague purposely because I just went in association with the blog. I had to make that decision.
Sure. So let's shift gears altogether, because I know in reading your bio and everything, you're also part of a band.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear more about that. So, tell me how that came about, and tell me, what kind of gigs you guys do and where people can see you.
Oh, that's okay. I'm very excited to talk about. So that's kind of my dream come true. I would say writing is my passion, but it fortunately turned into my job as well. And I was fortunate enough to be connected to some amazing musicians who are my dear friends now. I am the girl in a band with a bunch of guys. Sometimes I think of myself as one of the guys. And we started a band called Fox and the Hounds in 2014. So that was actually a huge part of my recovery because I wasn't sitting alone and wallowing. I was in front of a microphone making awesome music. And that was primarily a cover band. And then my partner and I branched off, we decided to make some original music. And keeping with the animal theme, we now have a band called Foul Play, but foul spelled like the bird.
Okay.
So Foul Play is what I'm really invested in. I'm the singer-songwriter, so I write all of the songs.
Oh, wow.
And my partner, Kevin, is an incredible guitarist. I joke that he's the best guitarist east of Mount Rushmore, because I really believe it. He's incredible. So between the two of us, we are writing music. We're right now working on a demo. And this is totally passion. This is not work.
Do you perform locally?
We do. We perform locally.
Where can we see you?
If you go to my website or my
Yeah.
Facebook page, I'll always post when we have a gig.
Okay.
We've performed, different gigs like in the city, in Manayunk, smaller gigs. Right now, we are in the process of booking some bigger gigs, which is exciting. But
exciting.
I promise to keep you abreast. So there is a Facebook page for Foul Play, but also if you go to Mommy Ever After, I definitely weave all aspects of my life in together. So if I'm going to be performing a gig, or if I have a video, it's not hard to find me. It's not hard to find a video of me singing or performing in some way, or doing a musical parody based on a song that's like, about my, I have one that's a parody of the Dear Future Husband from Meghan Trainor.
Okay.
And I made it, I made one for Dear Future Parents and then Dear Current Husband, because there was one day that it was such a crazy day in my house that I was like, you people out there need to know what it's really like, and I was able to use music as a vehicle to show that.
Oh, that's great.
So
Yeah.
I love being, by day a mommy blogger and a freelance writer and a mom, and by night totally the kind of rock singer with pink hair and spiky boots, and it's so fun. It's
So
been
fun.
so
Sounds really fun,
colorful. It's
yeah.
been so awesome.
And it seems like it encompasses all the skills that we've talked about. Your writing, your ability to help people and put yourself out there. I mean, it's all kind of the same thing that you're doing, but it's different outlets for it.
That's such a good way to say it. I mean, it's very emotional. I'm writing very emotional songs. I can write about these things that have pained me in a different way. It's a different kind of poetry, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's cathartic to get up on stage and everything fades away, and to be in front of the microphone and just belt it out. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. So, we're nearing the end. How can people reach out to you? I know the Mommy Ever After, obviously. Is there
Yes.
anything that you want to add as far as contact information, or anything coming up that you might want to tell the audience about?
We actually have some very exciting partnerships coming up. I'm getting more and more just fantastic partnerships coming my way, for which I feel so blessed. So the best way to stay connected with my blog is to visit www.mommyeverafter.com, to go to our Facebook page. I have an Instagram, which is @mommyeverafter. I have a Twitter @mommyeverafter. I am big on the social media. And if you need to reach me, you can always reach me for any reason again, I'll say Rebecca@mommyeverafter.com. And if you're on the fence and worried and think, should I reach out? I will always say 100% communicate. Reach out to me. I will get back to you. There is no judgment. I should have mentioned that. My blog, my life, my private community group, we are a judgment-free zone. There is a barrier around me that is completely judgment-free. You can come to me with just about anything, and I will support you.
Wonderful. So very quickly, how we like to end the show is kind of talking about maybe a networking event or organization coming up that you think people might want to know about. Anything that maybe has worked for you, or something that you've seen, social media wise, or that about as far as an organization that somebody might be interested in getting involved with.
A different organization?
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of organizations in Lower Merion that I've seen through Lower Merion Community Network and Lower Merion Businesswomen, things like that. As far as, I will throw it out there to one of the nonprofits that I'm involved in, because they've been extraordinarily successful. Emily's Entourage. If you're from this area, you've probably seen Emily's Entourage, which is a charity based on Emily, who is a friend of mine with whom I've shared memories for almost 30 years, and she has cystic fibrosis and has gotten to the White House with her story. So they're throwing a gala at the Baldwin School in December, and they're an example of the little brand, the little engine that could, and they have grown from sitting around the kitchen table to being worldwide. So that's an example of
a great cause,
a fantastic cause. as much as I said I wasn't going to give any plugs,
Right.
Emily's Entourage is most
That's
worthy.
personal to you, so that's a great plug.
And we will be actually writing a song for them.
Oh, wonderful.
So that
Okay,
is,
so look
it
out for
all
that.
ties in together.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much for being here.
Thank
It's been
you so
so
much for
wonderful having you
having
on.
me.
And thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Thank you.